There was a period in my business where I was working harder than I had ever worked and moving slower than I had ever moved. Every day was full. Every week was exhausting. And at the end of every month, when I looked at what had actually changed in the business, the answer was roughly nothing. The revenue was similar. The position was similar. The problems were similar. I had spent an enormous amount of energy staying exactly where I was. I did not understand what was happening for a while because the days felt productive. I was responding to clients, solving problems, delivering work, handling administration, making decisions. All of it felt like real work because all of it was real work. The issue was not that I was doing fake things. The issue was that almost none of what I was doing was building anything that would make the next month different from this one. Busyness and productivity feel identical from the inside. Both consume your time, both exhaust your energy, and both produce the sensation of having worked hard. The difference only becomes visible when you zoom out and ask what the activity produced that will still matter in 6 months. Busyness produces completed tasks. Productivity in a system produces compounding outputs. The distinction sounds simple, but most builders spend the majority of their working hours on the first category while believing they are doing the second. The reason this happens is that maintenance work and building work look identical on a calendar. A 2-hour block marked client work could be delivering something that builds your reputation, develops a reusable framework, and produces a case study that will generate future clients. Or it could be redoing something that was not scoped clearly, handling a question that a better onboarding process would have answered before it was asked, or managing a relationship issue that a clearer contract would have prevented. Both show up as client work. One is building. The other is maintaining. And maintaining is not nothing, but it does not compound. There is a specific type of work that consumes enormous time and energy and produces nothing that compounds. It is called system maintenance work, answering the same questions repeatedly, fixing the same problems repeatedly, making the same decisions repeatedly. Every hour spent on maintenance is an hour not spent on building, and the two look identical on a calendar. The builder, who is constantly busy maintaining what exists, and the builder, who is constantly building what does not yet exist, have the same full calendar. Only one of them is moving. The structural problem is that maintenance work is always more urgent than building work. A client question needs to be answered today. A recurring problem needs to be fixed now. A decision that has been deferred needs to be made before it becomes a crisis. Building work, by contrast, has no immediate deadline. The process that would eliminate the recurring problem can always be built next week. The content that would generate future clients can always be created when things slow down. Things never slow down. The building keeps getting deferred, and the maintenance keeps expanding to fill the available capacity. I broke out of this by doing something that felt counterintuitive at the time. I started treating a fixed portion of every working week as protected building time that could not be displaced by maintenance, regardless of what came up. Not a large portion initially, a few hours, but those hours were non-negotiable. Whatever maintenance needed to happen had to happen in the remaining time. The maintenance did not stop. It just got compressed into less time, which forced me to become more efficient about handling it and more deliberate about eliminating the sources of it. Productive work in a system has a specific quality that maintenance work does not. It has a multiplier. Every hour spent building a process that eliminates a recurring problem saves more than 1 hour over time. Every hour spent creating content that keeps generating leads saves more than 1 hour over time. Every hour spent training someone to handle something you are handling personally saves more than 1 hour over time. That multiplier is what separates building from maintaining, and it is the only thing that eventually produces the kind of leverage where the outputs exceed the inputs by a meaningful margin. Most builders never experience that leverage because the building work never gets enough protected time to produce it. The maintenance always wins the competition for available hours because it is louder, more immediate, and more obviously necessary. Building is quiet. Building has no deadline today. Building does not create a problem if it gets deferred one more day. And so it gets deferred day after day, week after week, while the maintenance load grows, because the systems that would reduce it never get built. The shift I made that produced the most change was not in how I managed my time. It was in how I categorized my work. I started asking of every task, not just what does this accomplish, but does this build or does this maintain? Build tasks got scheduled first. Maintain tasks got handled in whatever time remained. That simple categorization made visible something that had been invisible for years. The ratio of building to maintaining in my average week was far more skewed toward maintaining than I had believed. Seeing that ratio clearly was what made changing it feel urgent rather than theoretical. A busy business and a productive business can look identical from the outside for a long time. Both have full calendars, both have active founders, both have revenue coming in. The difference becomes visible over a longer time horizon when one of them has built something that compounds and the other has just maintained something that stays the same. The choice between them is not made in a single moment. It is made every time you decide what gets the first and best hours of your working day. Next, we are going to look at something that most builders find genuinely surprising when they examine it closely. Why some clients refer consistently and others never do, and what the structural reason behind that difference actually is. I will see you tomorrow.